founder of Congo Fashion Week. So the work we've done in Congo with Congo Fashion Week has helped designers to get more involved in the country's economy in terms of production, because they were designers were actually working like tailors. They were not taking their work seriously. Since we have started doing the Fashion Week, they have learned how to do their own collections. They know how to create their own trends, and they know how to value their work.
I'm the founder of Pin Africa, and I'm a digital editor for New African Woman magazine, and I work in editorial development at the BBC. I make suggestions and analyse how BBC can better engage people digitally. So I'm mainly focused on digital media. Pin Africa, I founded in 2017, is a social video channel. Currently we're working along with Facebook and Instagram as partners. I wouldn't say that with Pin Africa we're impacting Congo only directly because it's a Pan-African platform, but it does contribute to every single country to Africa, including Congo. The main purpose behind the channel is about owning the narrative. And whenever somebody says, I want to tell the African story, I can't say there's too many storytellers, we need too many stories. We need a lot, just because it took centuries to come up with the sort of stereotype that lingers us right now, and it will take centuries to undo it. So we want to be able to put faces, African faces to African stories. So a lot of our stories are human focused, you know, it's about profiling individuals and being able to amplify their voice. So we do that with short form videos, so 3 to 5 minute videos telling stories about what people are going through, whether it's their business, whether it's an experience, or whether it's raising awareness about the good charity work they're doing. So, and we are reaching audiences across the globe with it, but strangely, African Americans are one of our biggest audiences. Yes, because when the good thing about digital media is there's no borders. Yes. So we are sort of bridging that gap and being able to tell them about their past, but as well as connect with Africa visually via our channel.
Hi everyone, my name is Tanya Mkwamu. I'm a founder of MaxiCash, which is a South African-based tech startup. And what we do is we've created a mobile app which helps the African diaspora to support their families back home financially. And how we do that is we link up merchants and senders, as well as peer-to-peer senders, so you can send money to the DRC, say directly into a bank account, or soon into an ATM or prepaid Visa card, or you can pay now with, for instance, a market, e-mart, where you can buy groceries and they deliver directly to family members in the DRC, or pay medical fees in the DRC as well. So basically, we simplify that process of having to send money, not having to queue and pay high fees, and with money getting lost in the process. You send to the aunt, 500, and only 3 gets there. I mean, we love our aunts, but life happens in the middle. So, so that's just bringing more transparency to the person actually sending the funds, and what our impact has been to the Congolese community is not only with helping the online entrepreneurs to be able to collect funds from the diaspora and really improving on their sales, but also with the work we do with some charities and NGOs in the country. I'm here really to challenge each and every one of you to pick up a cause and support. With the 2 years we've been in the market, I can tell you now that we give to the church more than we do support a school or more. And hey, MaxiCash, like many other platforms, are there to to offer that channel. So why not?
And Rose.
Hello, I'm Rose Yomajima, founder of Nima Food. I started Nima Food about 2 years ago when going to the supermarket, and I thought, why isn't there any African products on the shelf? It's Indian, Chinese, but you don't really see anything, not many African products. And that sort of started from there, and that's how the whole Nima story came about. Nima is about making African food mainstream. So not just Congolese food, although at the moment my products are my family recipe, chili sauces. I thought what would be the easiest way to introduce people to African cuisine, something they can relate to. Everyone likes hot sauce. A lot of more British people are consuming spicy food. So that would be a great way to introduce them, where cheese sauce they can use in their cooking to marinate fish, chicken, and so on. So we sell our products in shops, independent shops, deli farm shops around London, and we're a food startup, so we're not long, just 2 years. So the phase has been to really understand who our customers are, understand the food industry. I have no background in food, but it's been such an interesting journey to even reach the stage having my products in the shelf, and that's been really good to promote Congolese cuisine. The impact that it has on Congo, I found that a lot more people want to find out more about Congo. They'll be asking me, so is there any Congolese restaurants here that I can go to try Congolese cuisine? And I think for businesses like mine, anything relating to Congo really helps to promote not just my business or even me to promote what Congo is about. I'm also looking to give 10% of profit back to a cause that we'll be working on close to my heart. Coming from a charity background, is something which has always been innate to the structure of the business, to work closely to empower women, girls in Congo, and I'm looking at the moment selecting a few charities that will, on a long-term basis, we can do some impact work together.
Excellent. And Professor Theodore.
Thank you very much. Before I start, I think you should actually buy into the MaxiCash project, because we run a charity called Melodic Education, so we could be your first recipient. Because she mentioned God, Theodore means gift from God. So obviously, if you pay us, you'll be closer to God as well. But that's sorry. My name is Theodore. I live in Cambridge, and I used to lecture international development at the University of Cambridge. But I'm also a visiting professor at the Institute of Statistics in Kinshasa, where I teach social research, and I also do research, social research in the DRC. That's the very first thing. It's a very first in the DRC, because people don't know anything about research in Congo, so we are kind of introducing that in the Congo. But for the purpose of this event, I also run a charity that deals with health, education, and community empowerment. So we have several schools across the DRC. We work with about 150 Congolese associations that are scattered throughout the DRC. So some of them we are actually physically represented within those organizations, or others we work in partnership with. So we have school, clinic, and community empowerment. But the project that's very dear to me are the projects that are related to women empowerment, breaking the taboos in the Congo, getting more girls into schools, and also helping people with disabilities. As you know, in the Congo society, often when you have a disability, it's a big issue over there. Trying to get them back into to be part of the community. So we're trying to change mindsets in the community. So I was very pleased to have been invited to talk about the issues affecting women. So I'm not a professional in it, but I've seen a lot of cases. So I hope that in the discussion that we're going to have, I'll be able to contribute a little bit more. Thank you.
Owning our own narrative. I'm officially, but I've been adopted by the Congolese now. So you're Congolese, you're all my brothers and sisters. So it is our narrative. Malcolm X said it best. Said, the media is the most powerful entity in the world because it has the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. And that's power. I'm a media teacher by profession. And so I'm very, very, very invested and interested in media and how it has the power to shape our narratives. The question I want to ask our wonderful panelists is, first of all, do you agree with that statement about the power of the media? Because a lot of people don't necessarily think that the media, but I mean, like now, we can see even social media, how it can shape people and destroy people. And we have the cases of Michael Jackson very recently, totally destroying him, totally destroying his legacy. Don't ask me, I don't really know about whether I agree with it or whatever, but I do know how it has destroyed his legacy. And R. Kelly is facing very, very serious problems. So the question is, why do you think Congolese people need to promote the country through their own media? And I want to start by asking Benedict and Mary Claire to answer this. And obviously, please, other panelists, if you feel that you can add something, please do. And I think it's also important that as audience, that we should say our opinions and talk about it as well, ask questions. Okay, so this is open, we're all family, including myself and Congolese, don't forget. So we are all family, so please do get involved. Would you like to start, Benedict?
I'll say that we Congolese have to promote ourselves, because most of the time we complain that people are saying negative things about us. Most of the time when you check on the media, people do not have a positive opinion about Congolese. I'll use my own example, because I was praying in a Nigerian church, and the first time one person met me and they asked me, where are you from? I said, I'm from Congo. And they told me, oh, can you dance Makosa? So our is really embarrassing so it's like, that's the first thing they think about us. And the next person will tell me, why don't you have like those kind of wigs with a lot of colors? Why won't you wear designers? So for me, we know us better than anyone else. So if we use our own media, we are the best people to tell the correct narrative about who we are, about our culture, and we can't blame others for stating otherwise.
Everything she said. Congolese people owning their own media is important, but they do. So if you go to Kinshasa or you go to anywhere in Congo, there's radio stations, there's newspapers, there's everything that, every single kind of platform format that exists here and exists there. But it's also about being able to tap into non-Congolese media, so then you could be able to present Congo in a different light. So me having Pin Congo, right, is fine, but having Pin Africa and then representing Congo in Pin Africa, that's telling people in America and telling people in Switzerland and telling people in Nigeria that this is what's going on with Congo. So I always feel like, as African and as a Congolese, it's always best to, because we live in a globalized community, in a global community, in a globalized world, and I just feel like we know who we are, but it's also about telling people who we are by with our own voices. So it is owning the narratives means retelling the story by yourself, but it's not just retelling the story to each other. It's being able to tell somebody who has never been to Congo, this is Congo. So when we talk about media, I really just feel like it should be more international more than anything else, just because those views are coming from people outside of the actual country rather than in.
Absolutely. Excellent. Thank you very much. Question I'm very, very interested in. I love what you both said, and I think it's so, so true. What can we do? Us laymen who are not necessarily in the media industry, who don't have necessarily access to the BBC and things like that, who don't have our own award show in the fashion industry. Because I'm sure we want to participate in this, we want to, because it affects us as well. So what would you suggest that we can do?
I'll just answer a bit and then the rest of the panel, the rest of the panel can speak as well. I've worked in the media for a number of years, and I've worked with like local papers here, I've worked with ITV, Independent, I've worked with Western media mostly, and then I did my transition into African media when I started with the New African magazine, the New African Woman, and Pan African. So the difference between being in African media and being in Western media is we as African have to be able to appreciate ourselves.
Okay.
Now, I've interviewed a number of high-profile people, and in different outlets, and you see them appreciating themselves more, making it into a Western media outlet than in an African one. So we have to be, we always talk about creating our own, but we also have to consume our own. You know, and that's, for me, that's, from my experience, that's one of the main problems we have. What somebody would say, they made it because they made it to Forbes. But if you did a magazine tomorrow and you've put them on a cover, you have to push them to promote it and tell them, look, you've made it into your own sister and your own brother's magazine. So it's just about, as much as we're creating, but we also have to be our own consumers. Then, because there's enough of us. In Nigeria alone, there's almost 200 million people. There is enough of us to be able to create, but also consume and be our own audience, be our own, market. That we have to be able to do that.
Brilliant answer. So number one task of the day: go and consume our own media. Assuming Magazine is running this event, this is our first thing you can do. I don't think anyone should leave without taking a magazine home today. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Any others?
Yes, I would say that we are our own ambassador. We are our country's ambassador. So wherever we go, what we say about Congo, what we write on our social media about Congo, represents us. So if we are busy always saying what is negative about Congo to our friends from other nationality on our social media, and I realized I asked one person a question after all the elections argument. I said, have you ever seen a random platform on social media? Because of the conflict that we have, I won't go too much in there. They are very discreet, and we can see what they have achieved today. But we want to disgrace each other on social media like nobody. I don't know if everyone does it the way we do. So if we can if we can represent ourselves wherever we go, in our place of work, on the social media, wherever we go, if we understand that we are ambassadors of our culture, of our family, of our country, I think that will make a huge difference.
Absolutely, thank you so much. I'm writing that down because it's my homework as well. I think that it's true. I think it's amazing. I lived in China for a year, 10 years ago now, a decade ago. And I made a conscious effort myself to know that this is the first black man a lot of these people are going to see. So whatever they think about me, they're going to think of not only black people, the whole of Africa. Not my family, the whole of Africa. So that is such a powerful statement. And like you said, we have social media. So, and people are watching and they may not like it, they may not literally press like or heart or whatever, but they are taking notes. And they said, oh, okay, so the Congo is this, Nigeria is this, Africa is this. And we don't yet have the nuances of different countries. We're all just Africa, unfortunately. Anyway, thank you so much. Ambassadors and consuming our own media. Would anyone like to add anything? Tina?
Just to add on the media thing that was said. Yes, of course, we are representing Congo and we are sharing stories. But what I found when I actually went to Congo not long ago, so just before the elections, is that a lot of Congolese in Congo and the diaspora don't know Congo. So, and we very much underestimate that that we ourselves don't know almost anything about on the history of Congo and what we have in our own country in terms of the not just the wealth for the minerals or things like this, but just the culture. And in the culture, I'm not talking just about the music or things like this, but even like the natural parks that we have. Like, you know, if we want to change people's mind about our country, we need also, again, like you said, to consume what we have. So going to visit the natural park, knowing that in Congo you can do a safari and it's safe. So the same way as you would travel to South Africa to do a safari, or you know, you can go and see the waterfalls and you know, and all these things. So when I went, for instance, for the first time in Zongo, I was, oh my God, I was in paradise. But then when I posted those pictures on my WhatsApp story, not even on just social media, just on WhatsApp, I had friends in America that did not believe that I was in Congo. So I had to argue with them and trying to convince them that they had to go to Congo and visit those places. And I felt like I was having a crazy conversation with my own people that didn't believe that this was in Congo and they could have access to it. So some people even in Belgium were telling me, oh, I'm not going to Congo, there's nothing to see there. And I was like, but you are Congolese. You need to find out about these things. So I think it's really much more than just sharing. We need to also, you know, if we experience something in Congo, we need to share it in a way that people wants to go back and see and discover it for themselves. And you know, if we convince someone from Nigeria, it's even better. But I think for me, it's also like, maybe that's why we did the magazine. It was really about Congolese people to actually appreciate, again, like you said, appreciate Congo as it is, because I feel like we don't know our country until today and its history. So that's it. So everybody interrupt.
So I had a really interesting conversation recently with a journalist because with what I do, I have to have a PR strategy. My aim is to get my brand out there, to get the product out there, for more people to know about it. But the priority for me is also about talking more about Congo. So I like to always say brand DRC. And one thing she really was intrigued by, she's like, okay, but the thing is with Africa, you always talk about Africa, but for example, if you met someone from Colombia, they'll be describing their food. This is Colombian food, and be very proud of it. Why, the Africans in here are not really proud of the culture of the food and really out there, and they'll be really crossed if you were to describe the food similar to a cuisine from another region. It could be their neighbors, for example. They'll be really cross with it. So that's something which really I'm like, yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, from the get-go, I've always made sure that to say that the product is from DRC. It's DRC, it's Congolese cuisine, it's Congolese food, and also educate people more about what that is like, the flavors surrounding it, but also it works alongside with travel industry, for example, because there's another side of the business that we're going to be launching very soon, and that will be heavily focused as well on promoting Congo, the cultural aspect of it, and all the just wanting to sort of get people to be to want to find out more and to go there, as opposed to always the news that you see on the media about the war. That's all that people know about. They don't know anything else. They don't know there's like she mentioned, you can go on a safari trip there. There's so much Congo and so much opportunity, so much culture there, and that's something which I think it's about us to take responsibility for it, because the example you gave about every time you say I'm from Congo, they talk about can you dance for me? I was actually at a business event and I said, it's Congolese cuisine, I'm from Congo and so on, and someone said to me, oh yeah, Congolese, they love to party too much. Wow. And I'm just like, wow, what's this got to do with anything? But it's about the impression that you give. I'm very aware that when I'm in certain industry or certain sectors, I'll be the only Congolese person that another person has met. So I really want to change that mindset. Whatever mindset they have about Africa, whatever mindset they have about Congo, I want it to really change and to show that we can do, a really excellent business. We can provide services that are good quality and that be consumed, by everyone to a really high standard.
Absolutely. What you may not know. Oh, okay. Yes. What's your name, sorry?
I'm Charlene.
Charlene, thank
I
you.
was just want to say, it's fine for us, the older generation, learning that old and also passing on to our children. That's another thing I find in Congolese. You can't really have kids born here, they tell you, I would never go to Congo. But why? Oh, I was born here, I've got a cousin who was born in Belgium. She is Belgian. I was like, are you Congolese? No, I'm Belgian. No, but you're Congolese. That's it. Passing on to them, telling them it's fine to go home, it's beautiful. I mean, I left home 14 years ago. I've been back twice with my husband and my child. My daughter is 4, and the way she loves Congo just makes my heart melt. It's like she loves it, and passing on to them, telling them it's fine to go home, it's beautiful. I mean, I left home 14 years ago. I've been back twice with my husband and my child. My daughter is 4, and the way she loves Congo just makes my heart melt. It's like she loves it, and she's like, Mommy, I want to go. And she goes to her brother, you've never been to Congo. And it's like she went when she was 5.5 months old, so she doesn't remember anything, but she will tell you she has been. So it's a passing on to our children, making sure that our children are very proud of where we come from. So when they go to school, they tell their friends as well. As I say, my daughter is very proud that she is half Congolese and half English. So she goes out there and tells her friends she's Congolese. She loves wearing her liputa, the Congolese African clothes. So she loves that. So it's making sure our children are embracing who we are and showing them all aspects of Congo is the poor side, the richer side. If they embrace that, then our younger generation will be able and won't be shy from going home time to time. Still have England, from wherever they're born, as their first home, or if they choose to have that as their first home, but also having Congolese as their other home. Because it's mother and that.
Absolutely.
Always get back to
Thank you. Girl, you have another one?
One of the things that I was trying to say is going back to what Tina said. Even Congolese people don't know Congo. The simple thing is when I went back during the summer last year, the first thing my cousin asked me if I got you, I'm like, I want to go to the river. Like I want to put my feet in that water. And he's 25 years old, was born there, lived there in his lifetime. I don't know where it is. I don't know where it is. I was like, what? It's like I don't know where it is. I'm too busy just trying to go to uni to what I need to do. So, and when I took him there, bearing in mind he was born there and he grew up there, he was in awe. He was in awe, and he was like, I remember it because he just sat there on the rock for a good 5 minutes just taking in the view of his own home. So everyone's quite right in saying that we need to change our own perspective of ourselves.
Thank you very much. Yes. Then I know.
No, sorry. I think when you're talking about the power of the media, I think the power of the media is very important. I remember when I was in Cambridge, I was trying to, when people talking about changing the narrative, and I was trying to promote Africa in a different light, kind of thing in Cambridge. So I was organizing events where I would have guest speakers that would come and talk. There would be food, and then there would be music, and then people have a full experience of what it is to be Africa or whatever. So it was quite magical. But the problem that came about after that is that people retained just the music and the food aspect of things. So whenever they wanted to organize something in Cambridge, I'll be the first person they will call. So we want to organize something African, not to come and talk, but to come and bring either music or food. So the power of the media is very good. So deliberately, I decided then to stop completely stop accepting invitation to go and do things like that. Just because I just wanted to tell them, actually, I've got a brain as well. You can borrow my brain and all that. So you have to change those mindsets as well. And it's sort of kind of working now a little bit. But I think that's very important. The second point is about the talking about the Congolese in the diaspora. I think it's very important to encourage them. I was the most anti-Congolese person you would see on earth. I really was. I was never mingling with Congolese. I was not associating myself with Congolese until I went to the Congo for the first time in 2003. So the Congolese that you saw that then in Paris, say, and the Congolese that you see in Kinshasa or in the Congo, they're totally different people. Totally different people. So the ones that are here are actually the worst people.
You know what I'm talking about.
So I sort of learned to fall in love again with Congolese. And since 2003, every year I've been going back to the Congo, and that's how my project started in Congo. Because it's very different. So you look at things from a different perspective. So here you are, so the power of the media, what you see around you, here affects you, it's true. But I think you have to encourage people to go back. Even, if you have children, if you have, your own self, I think, to go at least once a year to go back. And also for me as a black person, I think it's one of the only places where I can go and I know no one will be judging me because of the color of my skin. And I feel so comfortable. So whenever I want to recharge my batteries, that's where I go back. And then when I come back here, I can take anything. The national flag.
Thank you so much. Okay. We're going to go with this young lady, then we're going to go with Tanya, then we're going to go with you, sir, and then we're going to move on. And
it's okay.
Wow. You feel really bad at work. Okay, we'll go with you. Yes.
No, I'll just be quick. I was just going to add to what Tina said, and
Benedict.
Yeah, Benedict. I know you said, for example, back home there's a lot of media, but I felt like, there was a time I went through a phase and I realized I really did not know much about Congo because my parents moved over in the 80s and there wasn't much Congolese. I think a lot of Congolese came in the 90s. So I felt really disconnected from my Congolese side because my families were never really engaged, with the Congolese community. So it got to a point where I was like, actually, I really don't know much about Congo. And I remember going online. I probably spent 2 days and I could not find positive things. It was just about BBC talking about the war, the this, the that. And all I wanted to know some information about Congo, and I found nothing. And in the end, I booked a ticket myself and packed my bags. And in 2009, I went to Congo for the first time. But it's this whole thing where that's why things like Asimbi are important. Because we don't have an online presence. Like, where would you go if you wanted to learn about Congolese entrepreneurs, what they're doing? You're not going to go to the BBC. You might find a random article somewhere,
It's probably slating them.
Exactly, it'll be there. And I was so surprised when I thought, gosh, there must be, think about the Congolese even in the US, there must be like news sites in English about Congolese. There was nothing, so it's really important for us to portray that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you. Ms. Tanya.
Thank you. Well, I just wanted to touch on a bit, like being the trip and adventures and journaling what they did. It's really about when you want to consume, Congolese. Go out there and really, you can't just take it all at once, okay, fine, I'm into hair, or I'm into handbags, or whatever it is that you're into. Find one thing and take the time to research and find a Congolese fellow who's thriving in that and support, because with your even like in Nollywood, like years ago, Nigerians were so proud of the crappiest videos ever.
not just literally
and
buying
you
into.
yes, and you have to also consciously go out there and not, I don't want to exclude anybody, but like not necessarily buy from the corner, like
Yeah.
buy through the proper
Official,
channels,
yeah.
you know, because your dollar or your pound does count. So it's really, you know, take the time to research and go and like pay your money, knowing that it is, you know, going and contributing to something.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So, what's your name, sir?
Vincent.
It's very nice to meet you.
So I will try to say something, but not really structured because there are so many ways to analyze what we say in here. But I spend my time now to study the Africans in the past, and in the past, and also in the planet. I would say I'm going to see how Africans were in Argentina, for example, how they were in Mexico, how they were in Africa, everywhere. So okay. So there is something that we can say that self-esteem of black people is something that we can just discuss, and we can see some of them are maybe in the worst position. If we look at Congolese people, for example, and we see what you say about the richnesses of that country. So if there is a country which can't go ahead, is Congo. So therefore, since 50 years now, we just went back with Congo. So the self-esteem also goes back. I think now we are maybe, for the first time ever, because we have a new elected president, we may think we can maybe change Congo aspects. So that is just for the self-esteem. So therefore now when we're looking critics and so on, okay, let's say for example, if we look at French people, because I try to locate where, if we were in Europe, where the Congolese people would be. Some kind of French, Italian, we are a mixture. So speaking loud, blah, blah, blah. But the self-esteem, when we're looking at all this history, it's very bad anyway. So I would say, if now we can see Congo developing, starting to have less corruption, okay, people start maybe think, okay, proud to be Congolese, so on. I've never been no proud to be Congolese because I came in Belgium. My father always told me, come in Belgium, you study, and then after that, you go back to develop your country. And I've been raised like that since my young age. So I think time goes on, so I'm not that young now. I think I've tried myself to do my best. So just to give you a little bit my background, and I just say that to show you that when you're motivated to improve your country, you do your utmost. So I studied first of all to be an engineer in agronomic and food science, and I specialize in biochemistry, so food science. Then I went back to study medicine afterwards, because I thought two areas which are important in Africa, in my country, was obviously to develop agriculture, because plenty of people with no food doesn't make sense. Studied that first, and I went to study medicine as well because there were health issues. So put that together. So, cut long story short, I came here to specialize in dermatology. Now I'm working as a dermatologist here. But I'm saying that because we should be proud, because we have a big potential in the Congo. And if we look at the location, we are in the central of Africa. So everything will come through us. And I think we should have a positive mind for ourselves as a black people, and also for our country. It's very important that. And I'm thinking we have also a big power looking at our culture. If we look, for example, Russia, China, United States. So maybe China one day will become above America or maybe Russia. But there is something that they don't have. It's the culture. Let's talking about just the music. Chinese music will not impact the world. Russian music will not impact the world. Thanks to black people probably. The American can impact the world. The same with the Congolese people. So you are Nigerian. I think you're Nigerian?
I'm Nigerian.
Nigerian?
I am, yes.
Okay, and I think with the Congolese music, we have a big power to impact Africa and also the world, actually. So when a country has this kind of power in terms of culture, we can play a big role. That is my conviction. I don't know what is yours. So I just want to say that.
Excellent.
Another self-esteem, and I'm finished. Self-esteem on the past. I was working in Belgium, and I stopped a mom with 5 children, and I said, you know what? You know who has invented mathematics? They look at me, they say, oh, we don't know. Yes, I'm telling you, it's black people. Do you know that? No. Do you know the theorem of Pythagoras? It's not him who has created that. It's a black guy who has created that. So, and I give some keywords, blah, blah, blah. They didn't know anything about that. Ishango bones. Do you heard about that Ishango bones? Here, from Congo? You never heard about that. Ishango bones has been found in Congo 25,000 years ago. And then when you look, that is the first, we call that calculatrice in French. Because it comes with the what we call, a number. Anyway, the first number, 3, 7, 9, 11, 13. So those numbers are there, and the people who made that bone, they knew exactly that kind of mathematics. That is one thing. And I'm finished now. Fractals. You never heard about fractals. Fractals is the way that black people construct their village, have the way to think about life. It's also a mathematic way to predict the future. And that is being used now in the computers. Do you know that? We know that? No. So for the young, it's important to learn their own story, and therefore they can become confident and express that to the school. We create mathematics. Last and I finish. No, it's important. Because I mean, so there is a book now. There is a book. There is a book about origin of medicine and surgery in Africa. Africa, I'm going to say in French, berceau de la médecine and de la surgery. It's just been released in 2019, January. So I'm going to buy 10 of them. So that I will go and give to some people I think will help. That is one.
What I really liked about what you said, Vincent, was the self-esteem. And I really think that we are witnessing a birth and a resurgence of a love of Congo and of Africa and being black as a general thing. And I'm quite proud and happy to be a part of it. And Gail is looking at me and telling me it's time.
No, actually, because Elmi's English is not the best. Okay, so I'm just going to translate something from her. Elmi is actually a jazz singer. Okay, so she sings in French and in Lingala as well. And of course, as Congolese people, we are known for our music. However, when she tells people, I am Congolese, they're like, wow, this is not what we expected from you. Also, and correct me if I'm wrong, she said that now, these days, the messages in music were not the ones that we had 50 years ago. I mean, speaking from experience, my mom still listens to OK Jazz, stuff that she used to listen when she was a child, and she hates Kofi. Because the message, she cannot take anything from it. So yes, music is there, but again, it's like you were saying, you know, we're advocates of our own people, but what are we actually saying about our own people?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. And also it is time, yes.
I have 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Do I have 10 minutes? Can
Yes.
I? Okay. So So because I have 10 minutes and I have to get through, this is really good. What did I do? Okay, the next question was going to be about the Congolese people and our communities and how we reconnect. And I think we spent a lot of time talking about that through social media, through this research that we're having. So I'm going to move on to okay. Linking back to what Tina has said. I'm going to show you some images, and you're going to tell me where these places are. Can we do that? Are you okay with that? I need to find my notes so that I know what I'm talking about. I'm not just freestyling. And there you go. Okay. First image, very easy. You can shout it out.
No, Ivory Coast. Sorry, I've been there, that's why. No, it's not actually.
It is where? What is the name of the does anyone know, for extra points, what the city or where it's placed? That's really good. I didn't know until I Googled it. Agra, that's correct. How about this?
That's Africa, to be fair.
It is, but this is a very, very good point. Whenever we speak about Africa, and I make a point when I speak about Africa, is making a distinction between Africa and sub-Saharan Africa. Because now it's going to sound quite bad, I shouldn't say this on film, but I will say it anyway. The Algerians, the Moroccans, and the Egyptians are trying to muscle in on this new popularity of being African. So at my school, when I have an Algerian student or a Moroccan student, they say, yeah, I'm African, I'm African, and because now it's cool, it's popular, all the music is, but, anyway. So I'll make a distinction between Africa, North Africa, and sub-Saharan Africa. Okay? So although this is Africa, absolutely, people don't think of this as Africa. They don't look at us and say, oh yeah, no, that's Africa. They say, no, it's Egypt. Say it's Egypt, it's not Africa. So this is? Which area is it in? Giza. This is the pyramids of Giza. Please notice also the pictures that I'm using, because I found it difficult to find a bad image of Giza. But this is what Giza looks like. It's not cool. All the other images are very like, the moon is high in the sky and shining, and they put some filters, but no. There are beggars and there are market sellers right next to the pyramids. Okay? But again, if you don't know that, you just think, oh no, the Giza Mount pyramids are beautiful. Next one. Come on. Do you know it's so well that you don't get to say it? This is the Hollywood Hills, where is it? Which city? In California, the state, which city in California? LA, the city of angels in America. Again, this is a truer representation of LA. Finally, or not finally, but Coliseum in Rome. You can't see this, but please notice there are just loads of people there just doing all sorts. There is also, it's recorded off, so you have to go around to get into the Coliseum. I went there and I was thoroughly disappointed 10 years ago, because I was expecting what I saw on TV. I was expecting the beauty and I was expecting majesty, and it was just another, and there were cars driving, dogs and doing all sorts of mess. It is. Yeah, exactly. So they can afford to preserve this, but for the rest of where we come from, they destroy it. Where is this?
Congo.
Don't talk. And you as well, don't talk. Now you know it's Congo. This is Zongo Falls. This is the best image I could find of it. And I don't think it's very flattering. I don't think it does it justice.
I have better pictures.
Exactly. Which is my point. Again, I struggled, and when I say this is the best, which is terrible. It says something about how we are represented. But it is beautiful. One of the greatest waterfalls, I would argue, in the world. But we don't inherit it. How about those? us who don't speak French or Lingala,
Wait, is this
the
a
Palace of the Nation.
Is this a recent?
Palace of the Nation.
That's a good question.
Is this a recent?
The way I remember it doesn't
It
look
doesn't
like
look
that.
like this, no.
Last time I saw it, it did not look
No,
like
it does not look like that.
That's why I was like, oh,
Yeah, this is, and you can tell the image is very old.
Is it 1960, 1970?
Probably the 70s.
Yeah.
Probably the 70s.
Sorry, I've been there.
I try to find the nicest image. This is the only one I could find. But that's not because it's not beautiful or was beautiful, but that's because we don't care enough about it.
As a big first compliment.
It is. What's it called? What is the name? What? It is. Beautiful. Again, I know I'm repeating myself, but I struggle to find anything better than this. At the bottom, you can see something a little bit more pretty, so that you can actually see the magnitude and how grand the mountain is, the volcanic mountain is.
Hasn't David Attenborough been to Congo and seen all this beauty?
He has, but what they do is they focus on animals. They focus on the bonobos, and they talk about how they're endangered, and obviously that's our fault.
Yeah.
Because the Belgians and the Europeans didn't come and kill them and take them. Apparently we did it, but that's another matter. This is a mountain with the biggest lava lake in the world. Don't. I was going to say that, okay? Do you want to just say it?
No, you
Benedict?
say it.
No, Benedict. No, Benedict. You might as well. You might as well. No, tell us. Honestly, tell us. Where is it?
I might be wrong.
Tell us. What do you think it is?
No, I can't.
Try it.
I'm wrong.
If you're wrong, it's fine. Don't worry.
No, I thought it was the building that was dedicated to the colonizers.
No,
It's not.
this is a church.
Mhm.
And for me, my souvenir is the way when I see the street.
It's near Gare
you pass,
Centrale.
yes, you pass there and you can go to the beach also.
I'm going to pretend I know all of that. Yeah, of course. Basilica of St. Anne. This is actually not in the DRC. Can anyone tell me what this is? Brazzaville. That's correct. That's what I mean.
We have a very similar one in our
So this is Brazzaville. The reason why I do that, and I did that, was to let us know that not only Congo, but the whole of the African subcontinent, sub-Saharan Africa, has beautiful places. So when Tina's spoken about, and yourself, you've spoken about going back and visiting the lakes, and visiting all the natural places that we have, it is inspiring, first of all. And I think it's something that I know Simbi works really, really hard on, just to get this narrative out there that actually, no, we have many, many beautiful places, and something that panelists are doing so much work to try to get out. Tanya mentioned this, but she has a blog called Congo Travels, an amazing blog where she travels the world, so not only the Congo obviously, but travels the world and is educated, and educating people about the Congo, and educating herself about the rest of the world. I'm going to ask only one question to our panelists, and the question I'll ask anyone to answer this. The question is, what do you think the impact of a lack of promotion of the tourism industry is? What is the impact of a lack of promotion of the tourism industry? I know we've spoken quite a lot about the need to go back, but how, if you can speak in real terms of how it's impacting us.
In the Congo, sorry, do you mind if I start on this one? I was not too long ago. I was once with the Minister of Tourism in Congo, and we were traveling from Kinshasa to Maindombe. Maindombe. Very beautiful land and stuff like that. Beautiful, and he was promoting. We were on the plane with the head of the Secretary General of the World Trade Organization. No, not trade, tourism organization. And he was promoting Congo. The problem that we have in the Congo is as soon as you go with a camera in the street or somewhere and take pictures, you have soldiers coming to you and telling you you're coming. So you cannot, at the one hand, promote tourism, and at the other hand, allow these things to happen. So the two don't go hand in hand. So those are the issues. So it's not, the problem is not tourism. Everyone wants to be tourist. Everyone wants to take pictures. But they are scared to take pictures because there are always retributions. And those are the issues. So the problem is not really with the people or the tourists, but it lies down with the government. So they need to change the mindset and change the mindset of people. So I had arguments a lot with, for example, when I don't know if you have that, but you are at the border trying to take a picture of Congo Brazzaville next door. They tell you, oh no, this is the border. This is they say la frontière. You cannot take pictures. So silly things are the things that are actually affecting tourism. So I brought a lot of tourists, a lot of volunteers, a lot of people to come but it's embarrassing, isn't it? Because we have to negotiate with these people, give them some money, and talk about bribing on your own. So it's those things that are affecting tourism in the Congo in particular. Elsewhere, I've lived in Ethiopia all my life, and Ethiopia, you take pictures everywhere. That's why their tourism is very developed. Yeah. So whereas in places like the Congo, that has more than any other countries in Africa in terms of beauty and stuff like that. You cannot promote those things because of those issues. Yes.
Thank you very much.
I think that, obviously it started with the war. It was more of a security issue, but then now it's like the norm. Okay. Yes, the best way to take pictures in Congo is with your phone, because once you whip out a professional looking camera, it's a problem, and ask permission when in Congo. The easiest places to take photos are like in bars, like the party scene, yes, building, but everything else can be challenging. So I would say photos with your phone. Ask permission. If you have like the managers okay, then like any cop or whatever can just back off from that, and like show them, no, look, I'm just posting here. Yeah, it's a long process, but yeah, just do it. And just to answer your question of like what we need to be missing out on is obviously revenue. Okay, money is not being generated for the Congolese people or the government. But the saddest thing, really, to echo what Tina was saying earlier, is just the leisure part of thing for the average Congolese. I'm just amazed at how people are able to just like live in Kinshasa, because I mean you wake up and it's a fight to just get to the office. You swear halfway through, the traffic and the beggars or the cops or the traffic cops try to take the money, and then you try to smile at customers if you like customer facing, and then hurry up back home. But then again, just a weekend, 30 minutes out of Kinshasa could offer you that escape, but you don't know about it. It's for me is I don't know about from the government point of view. I don't know if they have like brochures available for people to, okay, this is where you go, and like how do you where do you go or whatever. Because yes, there's all these popular places, Zongo or can do that people don't know about.
The other thing about tourism is that tourism is it's a way of generating. It's amazing how much money you can generate and how much job you can generate and create as a result of tourism. The problem that we have in the tourism industry in the Congo, it's that it's geared towards foreigners. So the cars they have to rent, it's foreigners. Everything is so it's very much geared towards foreigners. So the Congolese themselves cannot afford to do the same. So for example, when I go to Matadi, I can hire a car, take a taxi, go all the way to Matadi and back. The Congolese to do that, it's a month's salary that they have to use to go to Matadi. So there's a lot of things that are wrong in the Congo, in that the Congolese don't feel at home anymore somehow when it comes to things like that. So and those are the things that need to be addressed as well. So I don't know. Yeah, sorry.
I always go back to the similar stuff, but as Africans and Congolese, I feel we are still battling that image of the dark continent with Joseph Conrad's, which was set in Congo.
Yeah.
And we've come so far from that, and it's taken us years and years and years of changing minds from Congolese themselves, seeing themselves, undervaluing themselves, because of that's what this has been depicted of them. What's this? Tintins in Congo. So mentally and emotionally, we're overcoming so much. But then there's two aspects to it. There's the narrative, which we are starting to own. Is it you that has the travel blog Visit Congo?
Yes, Congo.
And there's extraordinary images everywhere online of Congo and Africa. There's so many countries in Africa that's in like my bucket list now, just because it's off Instagram. There's young African creatives that are putting the continent on the map, and telling people this is what you could possibly do. But then we also have that government barrier where there's no resorts. So I may want to go to that great mountain, but where am I going to stay? And also we have that issue of security. I think it was back in 2009, and we were coming from Kinkole, so just at the outskirts of Kinshasa, and we had our tires popped by the soldiers, and then we had to pay our way, and they took our phones. We were mugged basically by officials. So people may not want to live in Kinshasa, but we always sort of look at it as how protected am I outside of Kinshasa? Who's gonna, if somebody runs in on me, if I build my own nice little villa in a forest somewhere, who's coming to protect? How am I going to call for help? How am I going? So it's that bit where it's literally we're doing what we have to do to battle those depictions, those stereotypes that's being put on us. But at the same time, we have to work along with the government. African people are extraordinary.
Yes.
I mean, we are. If our politics were correct, like God, because we do everything. When it comes to, like we've mentioned, our music, our culture, like we have young people who want to learn. If the education was there will always be bums on those seats, trying to learn. We are trying as people. I think we are there, but it needs to be enabled by those in power, those who hold the resources to be able to say, I want to work along with these people. But in terms of tourism, there's so many sites I've seen of Congo online, from blogs, from social media. Ghana is building a lot of resources, and I've never been to Ghana, but I know. They're doing a lot, I know, because it's out there. But it's the Ghanaian government saying, we are going to put some money in there as well, and if people want to come, we will assure them that there will be security, and they will go back to wherever they're coming from safe. So it's just, I think there needs to be a balance between African people who are doing a lot already by themselves and the government.
I think what you said is incredible, but there's a lot of complexity with the government and the history of how things have come about. Let Mary Claire say something, please, and then we can...
Before you say something, your point is very right, and it's very correct in terms of the government. But one conversation that I was having with my friend is the United States is on its 45th president, and they're still working things out. And Congo is on its 5th. So I'm not saying it won't happen, but I'm saying it will take us a little bit longer, unfortunately. And personally, I feel that I will be one of the people pushing for change, but I will not be one of the people living the change. That's what I personally say. So I completely agree with your point. That's what I wanted to add. And also, after Claire says something, we will have a 20-minute break as well.
Yes, I think just one in line with what Denise was saying. Yeah, the government has a major role to play in this, in securing not only the population in Congo, and also the stranger, because we can promote through our blogs, through our social media channels, the good, positive image about Congo. Or if they come and they go vote, that would be a negative experience they will have had about Congo, and they might not come back again. So
something I wanted to say as well, just touching a point about the government. With tourism, it's something which is really, I'm not sure what the, whether the Congolese government see it as a priority, but it's something which is such a great income, a way to bring a lot of revenues and also change, be able to sort of, we're talking about Congo in the media, but the government can actually, using tourism, shape how Congo is perceived overseas. Just an example, recently I was talking to, again, another journalist, just like, oh, why don't you tap into the travel industry of your country? Why don't you work with the government? There are loads of shows, trade shows here, where governments from other countries come and to promote tourism. And we actually went to one of the fairs happening in April, and I was like, okay, let's look at the list of different governments, and you see all the way, US, you see Egypt, you see all these, and it's like, oh, but Congo is not there. So I'm like, yeah, well, because in her mind, she's like, it's just natural, because that's what the government has to promote overseas, to change the mindset. They'll be like, come and visit us, come to Rwanda. I had, some government officials from Rwanda, come to Rwanda, it's beautiful, there's beautiful places that you can go and visit and so on, but there isn't really anything actively being done. I mean, if it was just structured a little bit, that can be used to change the narrative about Congo for the media. They can work alongside with, influencers, individuals, and even private companies like myself, for example. There's a lot that we can do to promote Congo tourism, for example. And I was thinking about that, I was thinking, okay, I like to do a competition, for example, on social media. I was thinking, let's offer a big competition, let's offer a ticket for 4 to a family to go and visit Congo, and everything will be taken care of. But I was thinking, how am I even the logistic of it all? How's that going to happen from someone who's never traveled to Congo before? And you're not able to do those things. Just to show how Congolese businesses all over the world can really work with the government when it comes to tourism, to change the mindset of what Congo is about, and to showcase how beautiful there's so many places that you can go, have a good time, and find out about the culture and the people in a positive way.
I just want to say, don't let the danger or
That's what I was going to mention that actually.
put you off going home for visits, or I think honestly nobody needs more than a week. Like a week is good for you to see a lot and do a lot, honestly. But like I've come from Johannesburg, and there's a woman raped or abused every minute in South Africa. But the South African tourism flourishing. Now you have like this rise of like pickpockets in Kinshasa, but it's still one of the safest African cities to be in. I was talking to Chanel now earlier about the knife crimes here, and I mean we still have, So it is an adventure. It's a risk by all means, okay. But if it's not about going maybe to the maybe they're just too busy and or they're lazy. But if you do really like try to approach and with an idea or something, it will take you a long time. It will.
But it's worth it.
It's just a matter of living in the country, though.
Yeah.
Because when we started Congo Fashion Week, it was when the Congo was started to us. In terms of security, in terms of, it's one actually one of the edition we have. Oh yeah, you come to that. The way she, the day, oh, sorry, the year she attended.
I was there as well.
You were there as well, yeah. Everyone was scared that year.
Yeah.
But when we went to Congo, how was
Yeah.
it looking? Very peaceful. And we were the one telling people, they were really afraid about, of us being in Congo. We were sending them pictures, like, look, we are fine.
Yeah.
So there was we are buying into
Yeah.
the media
Yeah.
that are selling a negative
Yeah.
image
Yeah.
about us. So I think as I said before, every one of us is an ambassador. And it's a shame that people in our family in Congo will give you the best news than what BBC or other news will give you.
Yeah.
Because they know what image they want Congo to have. So they are influencing our way of seeing Congo. So when you call someone back home, they'll give you a completely different news. Remember, we were there sitting in a restaurant, people say, what's going on there? Are you safe? Because when we went on the news, they're like, you read that news, we are enjoying Congo.
And the remote is the best because there's no traffic.
Exactly.
Which season? What?
When they do the
when there's
breakfast.
problems,
Yes.
okay.
Everyone is at home and you can drive everywhere without any traffic at all.
And not just BBC, I'm a CNN, everybody else says that.
I know. And so on. No,
Okay.
Not just BBC, guys.
I'm not going to say anything. I think you guys have concluded that wonderfully. I think you've been very, very honest also, especially in terms of tourism, but also we didn't end it up negative. We ended up quite positive, kind of like, no, we still love our country. Anyway, we have, how long is our 20 minutes? Okay, we're going to have a 15-minute break. I believe that there is some food for us. Guys, wait here for a second. I'm just going to go to the toilet and pick up some food. Please enjoy the break. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I hope your stomachs are filled. Right? It's true, are you? Yeah, good. That's very important for us. Let's start off by warming ourselves up and get to know a bit about each other. I'm going to ask you guys to, in pairs, the person next to you, or maybe in small groups, you're going to do 5 of anything. All that is, you're going to speak with the person next to you and find out the top 5 countries to visit, or the top 5 TV shows, top 5 meals, top 5 books, or the top 5 musicians. Top 5 of anything. Okay, you can make that if you want. Or I'll read the list one more time, and then you can talk in pairs or small groups. Top 5 countries to visit that you'd like to visit. If you don't say Congo in there, then you are not revoking your Congolese. The top 5 TV shows, top 5 meals, top 5 books, and top 5 musicians. You have only though. Pardon? They can be movies if you want. They can be anything you want. Meals, yeah, food. You only have 1 minute. And your time, yes, top 5 anything.
Every person you
That's a good question. Together you have only 1 minute.
Say 5.
I learned about Rachel, and Rachel is originally from Wales. Not originally from Wales, she's Congolese, but she lived in Wales, and her top 5 countries are, let's see if I do this right, New York, Hawaii, Congo, and they're not Kinshasa, going to all the tribe where her parents come from. I know her tribe originally had from that side of the Bantu people. I'm not sure, I can't remember exactly which one. That one? I can't say it. So I'll send New York, Dubai, Hawaii, Congo, and SA, South Africa. So yeah, I hope you guys did and enjoyed that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, so Tina's asked me to ask a question. And to start off by asking that question, I mean, there's a fact about money leaving a community. The Jewish community. In the Jewish community, I can't remember the statistic exactly, but the money stays in the community a certain amount of time before it leaves. Yeah? After the Jewish, it's the Chinese, then the Indian community, and then a few others, and then the last is the black community, which I think is unfair because the black people we're not just, you know what I mean, where there's the whole of Africa's diaspora all across the world, but nonetheless, it was done in America, the study, the blacks were at the bottom. Then she said to me that the communities across the world, they're very gelled and they're very well put together. And she told me about the Nigerian community. And she said it she spoke about the Nigerian community in a positive way. She said, you know, they're very well put together. And I thought, if only you knew. And then I also remembered something about, in this last year I met one of the ladies in the event, and she was Algerian. And she said that the Congolese are the Nigerians of Central Africa. And I thought, is this true? Then I started looking at the music, and looking at the way we dress, and looking at the way we speak with each other, and looking at all these things, and I found it to be quite true. Just my personal assessment. I'm not trying to muscle in on Congolese or what you guys do, but I'm just saying that we are very similar. Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you, Rachel, because she was trying to exclude me from Congo before. The question is, though, do we have a sense of community as a people? Now, I know this can go for a very long time, so I'm going to really limit this, and I'm going to ask one person from the panel if they would like to speak about this sense of community, because we suspect that there isn't. So one person from the panel and one person from the front, if anyone would like to speak. Would anyone like to take this? Oh, okay.
Yeah, can you speak?
How can I deny them this? Right. Okay, go on. You've won me over.
Sense of community, you know what, I mean, this is a big question and a big, conversation, but for me, it's like, we need to, if we can, one day, just see Congolese before everything else, meaning before your tribe or your ethnicity, because there's like so much obviously that makes up what we are, like, but the thing is that you just need to, at face value, like, this is my Congolese brother, not this is my Luba brother, or, because then that's really what's breaking the community. Because I'll give you just a good and a bad example about those communities. In my field, the Lubas are the best clients. Once they refer, they share, like, say 60% or 70% of the MaxiCash app users are Lubas. I'm not, and it was not designed that way, but I know that they look out for their earn, and they like, if they find something that works, or for them at least, they would happily share it, and you know, like that's just an example of the power of community. Now the bad side of it is, maybe 2 years ago, I have an annual 10K charity run that I do. That's how I found out about Isimbi, that I raise money for the Malaika school. And during that time, I just go to friends that are entrepreneurs as well, trying to raise money and for the cause. And then I was once asked, I mean, if someone who's like me, you know, as educated, as well-traveled and everything, and oh, so where's the school? I'm like, yeah, it's in Katanga. I'm like, oh, Katanga, no. But I'm like, these are girls, very impoverished girls, who are being excluded for something that they didn't choose to be. Yeah. But needless to say, I'm not that the person. They're not as close to me as they were. But I just don't understand that. Again, I'm not from Katanga at all. You know, but for me, there are a lot of things that we do, and again, it can be like a long conversation. But if we can just start with just seeing the Congolese before, because there's a lot of that separates us. You know, the food, the likeness, or what the features. It's such a big country. So, really, those little things separate whatever the power of community can be.
Thank you so much. Benedict?
I'm going to remove the colonial borders.
Okay.
Right, so then that would mean Congo Kingdom, or just Africa as a whole, and we can separate it as we would, if we had no intrusion. And as Africans, we have more similarity than differences. Not denying our individuality as people. We have so many cultures, so many languages, and so on, but we have so much similarities. And I go to a lot of conferences that's Pan-African, and I will say one thing, and the other person says, "Oh, me too. Oh, that's what we do." You know, there's so much of that, and I feel like our problem with lack of unity really goes back. It really, really does go back. It's another factor will be what the gentleman said earlier, is about self-esteem. But then that even goes back. Why we don't have that self-esteem. And across the world, whether in Africa itself, in the Americas, anywhere where there's people who look like us, we have the same problem. Right? African Americans have problems with African Americans loving African Americans. The street crimes they have there, they have black on black. Where we're looking at knife crime in the UK, and another a black boy is killed by another black boy, you know. So I just feel like with us, if there's no enemy within, then the enemy outside can't hurt you. So we need to address that as people, collectively. Africans around the world need to understand that it's like, I think it was 3-4 years ago, Haiti asked to be part of the African Union, and they were refused. What is that about? We are essentially one people, but if you cannot, I mean, not every Jew says that they are part of Israel. Some of them don't recognize it and say, you know what, I've been in Europe for such a long time, I don't recognize that as my land, but they recognize themselves as Jews. They don't necessarily have to identify with Israel, but they know we are one people. You know, until we start looking at each other and saying there's more similarities, and we just don't have that. And it's just a lack of unity. We need to find a way of just looking at another black person collectively, whether they're a Haitian, whether they're from Jamaica, and that's why with what we do in Pan-Africa is I don't look at the story as in you have to be from one of the 54 countries that's being recognized as an African country.
Yeah, that's it. What can we do? What can we do right now to say to okay, Vincent, you have 30 seconds. Yes, sir.
I will take 15, what,
15 seconds, actually even better.
The first thing, we have women.
Uh-huh.
So therefore they are the first gate where we can transfer the information to the children. So that's why I think it's really the key point to address women. I have some of the ideas, but 15 seconds.
Thank you so much. If you didn't hear that, Vincent said to empower our women. He is preaching at the moment, and he knows what he is. He knows his audience. He doesn't want to get in trouble. But I definitely do agree with Vincent, and I think he is spot on. Yes. What's your name, sir?
It's Matty.
Matty. Very nice to meet you, Matty.
Nice to meet you. So, I wanted to say that just like today, we're coming in to attend this event, which is like our first step. And a lot of people here have mentioned, like Theodore, I was talking to Theodore and lots of different people, that it was very difficult for them to be part of the Congolese community before. So I think if you have been, you're Congolese, but you're on the outside, and now you're bringing something back from where you were to bring it back inside. So I believe that everyone has the potential to influence their own surroundings. So when you go back home, you have the responsibility, as Marika says, you are the ambassador, you have the responsibility to either spread the news or influence someone else. You kind of like have to pay it forward. You kind of have to go back and make sure that the next person that you know, whether they're African, wherever they are, Congolese, kind of understands what's going on, kind of understands how to get involved. And I think that is the first step, because it's more about changing the educational, educating yourself. And I'm not talking about school, I'm talking about education on a broad level, because education is what we see in the media, what we teach ourselves, and what we're learning today.
Absolutely.
So I think I'm here today, but when I go home, and we had this conversation with Theodore, is understand that the Congolese community is like a baby, so they make a lot of faults, and I really want to beat the hell out of them, but I'm just going to be like, you're a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
I'm just going to breathe. It's okay, but have a little bit more faith. Because even for me this morning, I was just like, oh my God, is everything going to be okay? But I was like, I have faith in my people, I have faith in my people, I have faith in my people, and I'm here. So I think that's the kind of mentality you need to take when you go home. You go home and you say, okay, I'm also, accountable to what happens outside, because I'm the only representation of my home. So yeah.
Thank you very much. I see you.
I thought what she said. Sorry.
Okay, we'll do like this. Can you do it in 10 seconds?
Totally. Like, I loved what she said, Say she came here and it was beautiful, But I hope that you then have the courage email with like, look here, this is what I was at the event. If they're humble enough to take that.
So Tanya, sorry to cut. I just want to say, I already had, where's Tina? Oh, okay. I already had a chat with Tina when I came. I was like, I didn't get the message. It went to the south. I was like, what happened? And even, I was texting with Benedict this morning. So I'm one of those people, I will just go straight to the point.
Yeah.
Because I believe in excellence, and I have worked 13 years with Westerners, have had 30 years experience of studying with Westerners, and when I come back to my community, we have to be excellent. So you're my sister. As soon as I get here, I was like, hey sis, what happened? You're my brother, like, hey bro, what happened? You were late. It didn't happen. So that's me. So I'm so happy that she's done an amazing job. We had a really nice just conversation, and I'm really happy about that. And just as I said, just get to the point.
Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Brilliant. We'll have 4 people Okay. Tina's ahead. I'm going to get in trouble. What you have to promise to do is do it in 10 seconds. That was the longest 10 seconds I've ever heard. Oh, okay. I want to start with Mary Pen.
Yeah, I won't be long.
Okay.
Obviously, we
Okay.
can. Yeah, so for me, I believe in the sentence that says change starts with me. So if we go out from here, if we're thinking that the other person will start the change, then this day will have been wasted.
Yes.
If every one of us takes all the good advices and all the comment that we heard from everyone, and take it on board as I'm the first person to do everything they said here. Considering ourselves like if I was the only one in the world to implement those changes, and if there was no one else, what would I do? So if we see it that way, and we say to ourselves, I am the change that I want to see in the community, implementing what we have heard here, I believe it will make a better and prosperous community.
Thank you very much. Very well said. Jessica?
Yes, actually it's linked to I think like it starts from you, but actually I think that the first action is your words. And be careful about what you are saying, even around you. Actually me, I grew up in Belgium. I went once in Congo, and I heard some, sorry for my English, but to like some jokes, like for example, oh you're not enough Congolese, or you're not. These jokes, maybe the person thinks that it's a joke, but for me it would be a pain. I don't feel enough Congolese. So I think like what is important from today is to be able to understand what we are saying and the power of what we are saying.
Can I just say something just really quick? I'll be in just 5 seconds. I think we're talking about communities, but also how is a community built? And I really like what you said about taking responsibility, each person individually. But I think it's also thinking about how can I support someone else. You know, it's always, that's what brings unity. So if you have the mindset of helping and supporting someone else achieve their goals, we're all women, for example, you know, for example, I know Tanya is in text. If there's any way that, you know, through the context or information that I have that I can give to her that will help her to bring her to the next level, then why don't I share that? I'll go ahead and do that straight away. So that's how a community is built. You know, you see a problem, you see someone who's got an issue or a problem, then you see how I can resolve it. Each one of us has a solution for someone else. You might not think that what you have is valuable, but it could be gold for someone else. Just that one piece of information that you give can really change. So I think we all have that mindset each and support each other through everything, whatever. Then I think that's how a community is built slowly, because you're not, like she said, by your words, you're not bashing someone else, you're not bringing them down. But if they're down, you're trying to bring them up. I think that's what really would help to build a Congolese community and change from being so negative and tearing people down.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Actually, that would just back what you just said. I think when it comes to support, let's be honest between each other, Congolese people are the best when it comes to criticize people. When something bad happens, when we go to an event and you don't like the food or whatever, that's the first thing we bring up. Oh, I didn't like the food. Oh, I want to do it again. I want to do it. We don't forgive easily. We don't give second chances. When you support, you need to support from the trials and tribulations, from the beginning to the end. So, okay, maybe you went to an event, you didn't like it, but your person is doing something else, but at least trying. So support until the end. Try again, forgive, because we're not nice to each other. So when you don't like something, we're not nice to each other. And we're the first when we see, like, we love complaining more than we love giving compliments. And I think we need to work on that personally and make our best to forgive and give second chances and really support with all the trials and tribulations that come with it.
You know what? Everything I was going to say.
Which is good. It means we're all in the same wave.
But basically, what I was going to say, for me, the most vital point is, especially for you know, the people on the panel and just everyone in the room in general is that, for example, when I went back to Congo, for example, to start like a business venture as a young entrepreneur, I was 21, and then, for example, for someone that grew up in London, I had difficulty, an extreme difficulty, in finding role models, finding mentors, finding people that could just sometimes it's just a little advice, you know. It was extremely difficult, and for example, it just, you know, as Theodore said, you live in Cambridge, you lectured, for example, in Cambridge University, but for me, it makes me sad, but obviously now you've repented, but it makes me sad that, especially for successful Congolese people, why do you shy away from the community, you know? And it's the people that are not doing the best, or that are bringing the negative light, that are very bold about being Congolese. The good ones are hiding, and you're shying away. And it's one of those. You're doing a disservice for me. You know, like it's one of those ones where you're hindering me. So it's one of those ones where it's so important, and especially now that I'm getting older, and for me, it's like I lacked a lot of role models. I lacked Congolese women, Congolese entrepreneurs, people that, for example, not even just in my field in terms of film and television, just for example, just in general life sometimes. And growing up, for example, there's things my mum wouldn't be able to teach me because she wasn't fully integrated, but then I'm looking at fully integrated women here that maybe I could have, spoken to, or something, that maybe I can relate to better. And it's like, where were you guys? Like when I need you, When we're talking about, especially a generation. Yes, I do. A generation where we're suffering with knife crime and, in terms of like teenage pregnancies, so we're suffering with so much, and it's one of those ones where it comes down to ourselves, and you guys have to feel like you have the responsibility to educate us.
We have.
Yeah, including myself, but you guys have the responsibility of educating us, the next generation. And it's one of those ones where I don't want my generation or the next generation. For example, my sister is 17. And for me, I'm already thinking, oh my God, like, okay, I have to do this because by the time she's 20, 21, 22, I want her. So it's one of those ones where it's so important, and, where we want to invest back home. But it's so important to invest in us as well, in terms of just sharing your knowledge, sharing your experiences. Sometimes we don't even want you, we don't want your money. Sometimes we've got projects and we need funding. Yeah, sometimes we just want someone that's going to understand us. And sometimes it's one of those, our parents are not understanding us, or our aunties are not understanding us. And obviously there are individuals, such as yourselves, that do have, for example, that can relate to us better, especially if you've worked with, with English people, or you've integrated yourself better. For example, in the UK, it's so so important. So that's basically what I want.
Notice she said that she didn't have anything to say.
I know, right? Before you get to Theodore, I just want to add to her. Like, what she said is very right. Like, you're... No,
what she said
That is very right. Like, you mentioned your professor at Cambridge. We've got so many aspiring young Congolese people who want to go to Cambridge and Oxford University, but they don't know how to get to that. And they don't know how to work so hard, because you go to schools, like they tell you, okay, just do your GCSEs, this is it. And again, parents don't know how to form their kids to get to those places. So when you're there, please don't shy away. I've got my sister goes to Oxbridge, and she's doing maths, and she hasn't got a role model. I mean, she's really just good at maths, but she hasn't got any Congolese. I managed to find one Congolese professor who's in America. I can't remember his name, but he was also helping out Malaika. I was like, yes, one Congolese person that can refer my sister to. And now I've seen you and the doctor over there. I'm like, yes, two Congolese people that I know my sister would love to be in the room and bore you guys.
Let me say first, I haven't locked myself. work a lot with the African Society of the University of Cambridge. Yeah, so they come from over there. And I've opened my house. So once a month or something, I'm inviting all these students at home. So we have a meal and we discuss about Africa today, Africa tomorrow, Africa. We organize, in fact, once a year, we sponsor actually one of those conferences that we're talking about called Africa Together. It happens every June in Cambridge. And we, as an organization, we sponsor it. And it's, the reason why I get the young people down there, because we were talking about all these divisions. They have the African, the Ghanaian Society of the. I said, why? Why don't you just have African society? Why so many divisions? So I have a lot of these arguments with the students in Cambridge. And talking about helping students, I mean, in the Congo, for example, a lot of the women that are at university that we are supporting, because we want them to get, because the parents are telling them, oh no, you're going to have to become secretary or something like that. And when we ask them, they say, no, we want to become a doctor, we want to become an engineer. So we support them, and we put the parents aside. We support the parents somehow, but to allow the girls to carry on with their studies. So I'm not isolated from the Congolese. What I was saying earlier was that it was difficult to engage because there was no one to engage with. But to finish with this 10 seconds, it's only 5 I've done something. But to finish, I would be very interested if you guys were going to say, well, why don't we form a think tank group? Because what we're having here are discussions that in the Congo, I've done a lot of research in the Congo. Most of the information that the government gets is from outside, but they don't fit the Congolese reality. That's why they crash. It's beautiful when it starts, and then 2 weeks later it completely crashes. It's because we don't have this conversation with them. So I will be interested for us to have this conversation. I will be prepared to invite you all in Cambridge, at my house. You sit on the floor, you can sit on the floor. But I'll be very interested to have this conversation so that we can start coming up with policy that we will just throw at the government and say, well, listen, you've done this, but we think if you do this, it will work better, because we have different experts in this room here. I think it will be very interesting to have that conversation. And now I hope you will tell Tina that she should very encourage this thing to be.
I thought you were discussing Batman personally.
No, when I see you, I see Tina, but I might be wrong.
Thank you very much. Samson, you had your hand up. Do you want to do your 10 seconds? And
mine is short. I think everything you said is amazing, correct, but it has to come from a place of trust. And I think that's one thing no one really mentioned. You can't support something you don't trust, or you're just being fake. That's what it will end up being. So we have to really trust each other. Trust, I'm going to this event, I'm going to have full trust that it's going to be amazing. I'm going to come with an open mind, not closed thinking, I can't really trust my own people, it's going to be crap, but I'll come just to force supporting the black people, force supporting each other. So it has to all come from a place of trust in each other. And that's why I think that other communities do really well, especially when it comes to money. They're able to trust each other with their money. I give you £1,000, I'm expecting it back in the next 3 months, and they trust each other to bring it back. And that's how they're able to give someone money, that person buys a property, okay, next person who's in line, give you money, I buy a property, and eventually that whole community, they bought all the houses in that community. And we don't trust each other enough to say, this £500, I worked very hard for it, I can't just give it to you when you're a bit, and I don't know if I'm going to get it back when I need. But it's all a trust thing.
And also consistency, so we're not even going to ask. Consistency, we need to be consistent. Because there's no point having these meetings, having these events, but they're not doing anything. So everything that we've discussed, they're awesome, but what are we going to do about it afterwards? How are we actually going to be making the changes? Because you guys are doing what you're doing, but what about all of us? How are we going to implement everything we've discussed? We've already lost the generation. Our parents who came here, a lot of them have been here for like 25 plus years and didn't do anything, and we're having to build on that now. And like a lot of us have said, we've been away from the Congolese community or the African community for people see us as being too westernized, etc., etc. So coming to these things, it's amazing, but let's make sure we're consistent in the message we're getting out there, and also there. And also, we're going to have people like the older generation saying, you guys aren't going to be able to make this work. We've been here for years, and do you understand? They're going to put up barriers. But you know what? We need to show them a change needs to come. And it's going to come because we're going to be consistent in what it is we need to do to build up our country.
Absolutely. And that note, we're going to move on. I do have, and Tina's in here to back me up, so, but Theodore's given me the permission. He sees me, he sees Tina, so I'm going to take this. On the note of community and building each other up and consistency and trust, it would be good if we had some kind of #1 forum, as you mentioned, Theodore, and a what's the thing when you have everyone's email address and you collect it? Mailing list. Thank you very much. I think it's very important that we, before we leave, we all write down our mailing list, our emails, so that we can be part of the mailing list and connect. Because all the things that you said about community, it's now starting. We're going to put action to it, and things are going to get difficult. Everyone's going to go away. Everyone's got businesses to run, families to take care of, work to go to. But it's very important that we act on the things that we've just spoken about. And I've already been adopted by you, so I'm that mailing list anyway.
Then tell your sister she can come anytime and spend a weekend with me. And I extend the invitation to you as well. And to everybody else.
Wait, why is it everybody else? He thinks I'm joking. Okay, so, oh my God, I have 15 minutes, but these next two things are so important. So I'm going to rush through them. My 10 seconds is going to become 1 second because I know how you guys roll. I don't want to say that quote. I'm just going to jump into it. How do you start a business? Everyone here has had many aspirations. So, panelists, literally your one top tip. I'll give you some time to think about it. One top tip, what would you say the first thing or the most important thing for you is in starting a business? For especially a woman of Congolese origin who's starting out, they're thinking, I have these ideas and all these barriers that are there. It's hard enough starting a business, but you're Congolese and but you've managed to do it, and you've supported many, many women who've managed to do it. One top tip.
For me, the first thing to say is believe in yourself, because often you have these messages of the doom that, oh no, you'll never, oh it's impossible, or put that behind you. You have your goal, just aim at it, and you will succeed.
Excellent. I think if you're not writing that down, you should be recording it, because it will serve you when you are going to start your own business, or even if it doesn't even have to be a business. If whatever you are trying to do, whatever your goals are, believe in yourself. That's amazing. Thank you very much. In order? Yes, let's go.
What I would say, I actually agree about having confidence in yourself. You lack confidence, and that will hinder you so much as you progress, because it's so tough. You really have to be sure that your idea is it. But one thing I would say is that as an entrepreneur, you are a problem solver. So you bring in a solution to the problem. So you identify in the marketplace what problem there is and what solution you can bring in, and you also research whether that will make you any money.
Rose, that's two things.
Sorry. I just have so much to say about it, but if I were to say one thing, that's what I would say.
Okay, thank you. Tanya.
So you have confidence in yourself, and you've done your research.
Okay, wait. Is it problem solving and research? Which one? If you have to choose one.
Problem solving.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So you know your solution is to a real problem. You need to start with what you have. Like if you, I don't know, if you want to make sauces, whatever, start with your kitchen. Don't try to get, money out there to go into a factory or whatever. Obviously, sanitary. But start with what you have. Then it's real, it's authentic, and having being able to tell your story is very in right now. And then you're real, So because once you make a list of all the things you don't have, that's how long it's going to take you to actually realize that dream.
Excellent. Thank you, Tanya. Benedict.
So, okay, I agree. I'm validating all their points. It's like extremely important. My journey has been a roller coaster, and one of the main things I would emphasize on is discipline. Oh, it's so hard. Sometimes you can't be asked. Sometimes you're frustrated. Sometimes you're going through personal stuff. There's obstacles, but you need to have discipline. With jobs, if you call in sick, somebody's going to cover you. You can have time off. But when you're saving your own ship, if you stop, everything crashes. And you need to be disciplined enough to do stuff even when you're tired. Even the days where you know you can't even open your eyes. Discipline is everything.
Thanks very much.
And I agree with everything they've said. I had probably so much to do, I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, I would say have faith in what you do. Because if you have doubt, if you're not too sure, you won't be able to give the best result. So believe in what you, in your business venture. Have confidence in what you're going to do, and as they say, do research, market research and everything else that comes with it, but believe in that idea that you can do it, that it is possible.
Fantastic.
And remove as a Congolese woman, I would say remove stereotypes, and forget that you're a woman, forget that you're a man. Just believe that you're a human being and you can achieve it.
Absolutely.
Just going back to stereotypes. So sorry. Because with Pin Africa, we're very production led, so that means we've always got cameras and mics and everything. And every time we knock on the door or we walk into the building or whatever center event, and people always ask us, "Is this it?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're the production crew." They're like, "Oh, so where's the cameraman?" I'm like, so there's so many barriers. Like when people look at the word production, they're just looking at a man, a cameraman, a lighting, so it's the stereotypical stuff. When you're any industry, I would say, if it's going to make money, it's very, because it's not care, if it's going to make money, tech,
it's going to be widespread.
You are in it alone as a woman.
Yeah.
And you just need to break those stereotypes. I'm like, okay, I'm micing you up.
And do you know what's really interesting? When people see the quality of your work, they'll start questioning.
Yeah.
They'll stop. Okay? So, yeah, I don't
I feel amazing points what you've all said, but one thing as well that I've experienced personally, and I feel like a lot of women go through, is don't be afraid to start.
Yeah.
Because there's always that fear, it's like, what about my family, what about this, what about that, what if it takes over? So don't be afraid to start.
But do you know also, starting, you don't always have to start from the beginning, because there's obviously other people still who are actually doing it, so you can tap into what other people are doing, supporting them rather than starting your own thing. And I think sometimes we always just think, let me start again. But what if someone else is doing it and they need your support, they need...
It's true, because I found out that when you help other people, you find your gift. So I helped my sister to build Congo Fashion Week, and it's by helping her that I discovered that I can also work in the film, do the same for the film industry. So you find your gift in helping others, and you'll build that confidence as well of doing your own venture.
Absolutely, and I like what you said. That's your sister, and I'm thinking it's your blood sister as well, as you said. But even if it's another sister, it could be like, oh, this other sister can do it, has done it, and it's shown me the ropes. It's given me the confidence. It's actually mentored me in doing it.
Yeah, because I'm not only her. I've always had my other friends. If you tell me I have a business venture, my friend knows it. I'll be on your case. You'll have to do it. I said, if you need help, I am there. Because I have an accounting background as well. I've done accounting business. So if you need, like, have a business plan, I'm here. I will just make sure I'm on your case until you do it. And I'll volunteer for you. So I have helped a lot of people, and I'll say there was a blessing in helping others.
It's so interesting because that's a biblical principle.
Yeah.
But people who are not religious, they know it and they use it. So whenever I say anyone, the biggest speakers and most successful people in the world, they use that principle. It doesn't matter whether or not they're religious. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
I just, what you guys said is really inspiring. I think one thing is missing, and that's something I wish I heard many years ago. You didn't mention a key point, which is patience. You need to be patient as well. Because for so many years, I wanted to be a journalist for many years, and when I tried, and at some point I gave up on my dream, because I saw so many people being, journalists, just like that. And it made me think that it was an easy dream to be an entrepreneur, but actually it's quite a long road. And that's something that I wish I heard before, that when you want to start this journey, you need also to be patient, because it sounds so glamorized, so good now to be an entrepreneur. And now I see my friends who became journalists, and I look at them and I'm like, oh, why did I not, how did I not persevere? Why did I not persevere? What happened to me? Why I haven't achieved this dream? Because I thought, it sounds so good, so easy, but people don't say to me that it's
I get that a lot, where people are like, okay, so do I go here and then go there, and I'm like, I used to work in a paper where it was like only distributed in a very small postcode, and then sometimes we don't even get paid for it. Like, I'm coming from that. I did not poof and then get into BBC. I didn't. It's been years and years of standing in the rain and so many stories, and it just doesn't happen overnight. So that's
this story we need to hear more. We need to hear how you managed to get there.
Something which, just to touch on your point, when I first started, I was really blessed, to have the mantle that I have, because he's someone who worked for as a chief exec for a really big corporate FTSE 100 company, and he saw what I was trying to do. He's like, okay, I'm going to support you and stuff. And one thing he asked me, a question, I was just starting up, and he said, what if you had to do this for 10 years? Would you still do it? Because I had these big dreams. I'm like, okay, get into supermarket, contact them next year. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to get in here. I'm going to get in waitress. I'm going to get this place. I'm going to do that. It's like, do you know that some companies who are overnight successes, it's taken them 10 years. And then I'll start speaking to others. It's like, oh yeah, it took us 5 years to do this. One will say it took me 2-3 years to find a manufacturer. And like, 2-3 years, are you kidding me? And a lot of them, it took them so long. And even what I'm doing, I'm really in a startup phase, but the work before I even launch, it's like a year and a half before I launch to sort of get to a certain stage. So it takes years, and it's really, it has to be a passion. It has to be something you really believe in. There's no way you can continue and do it if you don't believe in it, if it's not something you're passionate about, because it's just too hard otherwise. It is just too hard. You have sleepless nights. We haven't gone into the nitty-gritty details or what really life is like, but some people say, yeah, that's great, but it's so much work behind the scenes, so much sacrifice, so much sleepless night. And how many times I have people saying, oh, it's not about African food doesn't sell. It's not where it doesn't sell. And then I had to go against that and believe in myself, like, yeah, I'm going to put it in a supermarket and it's going to sell, and this is the place that I want it on the shelf. So you really have to really believe in yourself, have that passion, and like you said, patience, persistence, consistency, discipline, working on it day in and day out, and then you will see the results starting to come.
And it's worth it.
And then it's worth it.
It's worth it. Okay, so we're out of time. Hi. But I didn't get through the question. Nothing. No, we're just talking amongst ourselves.
You're checking the time.
No.
What is that?
Nothing.
Have a question.
No.
Going great.
A very, very important question is about education for girls. I don't have time for it. I'm just going to ask Theodore to speak on it because I know he's done lots of work on it. In your article, a bleak future for young people in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It was an amazing article, I loved it. There's a part of it that really stood out. It says that dysfunctional public education system and the failure of the economy to create jobs condemn millions of youth to a life of hopelessness. Very strong statement. What do you think we can do, and why do you think the education system is failing like that?
You know, a lot of people have talked about the same issues. I started, my first teaching job was here in London. I remember I was 24 when I started. It was accidental, but I started teaching at Kensington and Chelsea College. So I was very, very keen to learn, and that helped me progress. Because prior to even getting this teaching job was very, very hard. As a black person, I had to jump hoops and hoops and just to make sure that I get something. It was you're talking about struggling. Those were the obstacles that I had to go through. But when I went to the Congo in 2003, it was like you see all these children not going to school. And it's a bit like doctor seeing a child dying, someone that you want to help them. So I felt that was going to help, and someone talked about patience. And the plan was just to help, my plan then was to help just a few children go to school. But when I came back here, I realized that actually I'm not making any difference by helping just 2-3 kids go to school. So I took over a whole school. And then it went on and went on. And for the plan was to just do it for a year or something like that. And 2003 to now, I don't know how many years, 16 years, we're still doing it. So that's quite a long time. But to answer your question, there's a lot of you here, all of you here have done a lot of fantastic things. You have a lot of skills. That's why going back is very important. But not going back to stay, but going back, you talked about giving back to the community, working in a charity where you transfer your skills. And it is those skills that are going to be transformational. And so we have a lot of girls that have never set a footstep in school, and now they're 19, 18, and over. So it's very difficult for them to go to school, but they can learn skills and catch up. But they can only catch up if they get the knowledge from people like you here. So for me, it's about people here bringing back their knowledge back there. That will make a difference as far as education goes. We're doing it with schools.
Yeah.
So when I first started taking volunteers to the DRC, I think we were almost the first organization that was bringing in volunteers. Most of the volunteers were Europeans. So, and it has started having an impact, because every time I was bringing volunteers, people assumed that it was Europeans that were coming to save them. So I changed that policy, and I started bringing people that look like me, look like them, to come and help. But that was more important, because most of the others that came, when they came back, they promised they would come back, they never came back. But most of the say, Congolese, Ghanaians, or whatever that I brought to the Congo, they're still in touch with the Congo. Even without my knowledge, some send ties and books, because they understand the issue. So you are more important to the cause than anybody else. So that would be my lesson.
I was even going to mention, before you mentioned the volunteers, that there's another article I found on Menelik, which is the charity that Theatre runs, by a guy called Adam Hunt, who was famous. He was a student who went to the Congo, and he spoke very gushingly about the Congo. And in his brief, it said that for me, what was most encouraging when I read it was that the Congolese people were emphasizing the help from the natives, not from NGOs. They're tired of people coming from abroad to come and help them, as in white people coming from abroad to come and help them, and feel good for a few days or a few weeks, and then go back home. They've done their help for their life, actually. Because 20 years ago, I went to the Congo, and they'll see a Congolese person, and they'll tell these stories like, what happened? Okay, so everyone relates to that. But yeah, it is incredibly important.
So I'm going to try to speak in English first. And I'm going to do something I did in Congo, because I tried to catch everything you said. And I was in Congo. I lived there when I was younger, and I go back there to have some concert. And I told to the organizer that I didn't want to only sing, I wanted to do things with kids. Because when I came back to Congo from Egypt, because we lived there, the first thing my souvenir was that I've seen and I met many little girls who were singing and clapping. We have many games with music. First, even our lessons, we are singing our lessons to learn our lessons. So I was supposed to give my class to maybe 8 girls, and they came with their friends. So after the first class, the friends told all the neighborhood that they have something with me. So I have like maybe more than all this room. And I decided to not exclude those who didn't attend the class with me, because I knew that I was about to go and I wanted to leave them something to think that they can do what I did with her, but also to be able to dream and not to forget, but to know that they can dream big. So what I did, I remarked that there were a little girl. She was very good with rhythm. I told her, you are going to be my chief in this orchestra with all my band. And she was on stage. She was directing all these young girls with her. Do whatever you want. You are not going to interrupt me. You are not going to disrupt my set. So tonight, I want you to be like when you were a kid, and I'm going to split the room into parts, and I'm going to give one rhythm to one part of the room and one other rhythm in the other part of the room, and then after that, I'm going to sing, but I'm going to sing because of you. So we spoke about trust. So I'm going to trust you. You're going to trust yourself, because I'm going to give simple rhythm. So this part, she wants to be I'm going to do something very simple. Then go fast, and then you keep it. You can do it. Nothing. You can you are good. 3, oh. Let's go to Congo. Let's go to Congo. Let's go to Congo. Thank you all so much for coming, sharing your opinions, etc. I'm really grateful.
So for me, first I'd like to thank the panel for accepting to be here today and sharing your stories and your, what you're doing and what you'll be doing in the future with your businesses and non-profits. And also to you guys for taking your Saturday afternoon to be here, because if we can take something from today, I think it's how important it is for us to share what's happening in the Congo and to see how we can not just talk about things, but actually take actions into what can be done. And I know that it's difficult to move from words to actions, but it just takes a small step. So if you don't have to figure out everything and know or do like big events we see, and there's a quote on Instagram that I saw actually not a few months ago that says people are not posting their failures on Instagram, so everyone is showing you what is best and how to do this the best way and this and that. And sometimes I know that can be discouraging. I don't know if that's correct. Yeah. To actually take a step into doing your own business or moving into contacting, someone that you admire that can teach you something. So I know that there's a few people here that that want to start a business and are wondering how, or they don't know which route to take. So with this event, we hope that you found at least one person that you can connect with and that can help you towards that path. Because what we've seen from last year's event is people made connections and jobs were created from that. And this is really what we're hoping happens at every event, that if you're in fashion, then I'm in fashion, so hopefully I can help you. There's Yolande here, who's Yolande in English, who is a fashion agent, and she has a lot of contacts and a lot of experience in the UK and globally, because she works with brands not just here but also in many different countries. We have Dr. Kabea, thank you so much for being here today, who's a plastic surgeon. I don't know if you mentioned. Oh, sorry. Yeah, what did I say that? Yes. No, but I mean, you see, guys, I'm overwhelmed. I mean, there's so many, and like people like Marie-Claire. I was going to put my cross again, sorry. And Hillary, who are in the film industry, because and I know you can't see everything that's happening in the Congolese community at the moment, but there's a lot of things that are moving, and it's moving slowly, but it is moving. And what I feel like we're very privileged with the magazine, because now people are contacting us, about their business or what they're doing, when they have new music. So we know that, Congo is everywhere. They're doing a lot of things, but you just don't see them maybe on a big scale or on TV or this and that. But things are moving, and I'm talking about the cinema because I just discovered this girl. I think it's Celine Chica, or forgot her last name. Sorry, but she did this web series in Los Angeles. She grew up in South Africa, Congolese as well, and has a story similar to all, like a few of us, I'm guessing, that left the country after the war. So it's all these stories that we, and people like Emmanuel Kabongo is also into Hollywood at the moment, doing big things, and and it's all about connecting and sharing, and you talk about someone who's doing that and you realize, well, that's actually not what I want to do. So this is why talking and asking questions is important. So at least if you don't discover that you like something, you can discover that you actually don't like something instead of wondering. So hopefully this is what today was about, and you guys learned something, and you guys can connect with the panelists, because I think Maxi Cash is so amazing and has so much to offer, to the Congolese people and the diaspora, and for us that sends money through different, Western Unions or whatever, discovering that a Congolese woman has created another tool that can help, the economy, essentially. To me, that's really important. I believe we have someone from the Best of Congo as well event, which happened last year. So if you guys didn't attend, the Best of Congo was an award event for, I think this was the European edition last year, right? So I don't know if you had an opportunity to actually speak about the event with a few people.
Yeah, sure. So we strive to actually promote other Congolese talents that I've seen today, for example. I think in our community, I'm from France, and I remember in France I really struggled to meet Congolese doctors, Congolese teachers. It's like I thought I was doomed just to be a nurse, to be honest. And so when I came here, I met with a few friends, Maya and Jess, and we worked on this idea to create this platform where we can celebrate Congolese talents worldwide, hopefully. Now we're going to start this European edition where we look at the talents in each industry, media, fashion, charity, art, etc., and look at the best in this category. The idea is not to, it's not really about the competition. The idea is actually to discover the talents,
and honoring them.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So you guys can discover and remember that. Oh, actually, you can't say that you don't know any Congolese actors or Congolese fashion designer. Through this platform, this is what we're trying to reach, and so this year we're going to have another edition around the end of the year. So make sure to follow us on Instagram and to attend the event, and we'll be very nice.
What is it?
The best of Congo.
There's another industry, I don't know if that was discussed, but for instance, Mary, she is heading, it's KMPG.
No, KPM.
Oh,
so it's a logistic company. So the company was there a few years ago, then crashed in the end of the previous management, and so they've grown worldwide. I would say, opening several offices all around Africa. And so 2 years ago, we came back to study the market. I was the one doing the job, and I'm still the one launching the company, so opening the agency over here. I'm in the middle of the community, so we finally decided to settle in Tottenham, where the good Congolese don't go anymore. Hopefully they will come back.
Do you want to tell us, what does the company do exactly in terms of the shipping and things like this? Because I think that's important for people like even Theodore, that sends, when he collects things for his charity, that then sends the goods. So knowing companies such as yours, I need to send things for models in Congo, and I'm going to use DHL because in Paris I couldn't find any company that do that. So I think it's
So we have KPM in Paris. It's quite a big office, so I'll refer you to that one. But for
DHL gave me a good price.
So basically, we're doing what a shipping agency that you know do. So we're shipping by sea, by express, and air freight. By sea is generally for charities and so on, because they're very keen on the price. Maximum of the funding needs to go to the action, I suppose. So, but I still play my role in the transport. That takes longer time. For cargo shipping is 10 to 15 days, and we have express as well. Generally it's for companies, because companies don't look at those costs. So we offer a wide variety of services, trying to be in the center of the community, whoever I would say the background of that community, but trying to be in the center of the Congolese community. We end up doing a lot of service, so end up listening to people who want to come back to the country, and they ask me how should they do it, should they buy this or this. Living there I've been living in Congo for 10 years, so I just came back for that project. I know what to do and what not to do when you want to settle back in the country, because we've been through that, we've done those mistakes and so on. So I end up being the point of contact for everybody that wants to ship things, but also thinking about moving their life back to there and so on. There's a big movement right now for, of course, with the new political situation that we are entering. There's a lot of people who want to come back, and so everything that has to do with your comeback, you definitely need my number.
So don't forget to network. That's
Can I say something? So I just want to take the opportunity to tell you that I'm a cosmetic dermatologist. I'm working in Harley Street. What I found out, there are a lot of patients come to me, black patients. They went to see a lot of doctors, dermatologists, and they found it difficult to find a doctor who is specialized, who knows how to treat black skin. So I've done a thesis in Paris about that. So just to inform you that.
He's in Harley Street.
So, but doesn't mean that I can't afford, but just to get aware.
So the prices are reasonable. If you're going to say you know Tina, the prices are reasonable. Okay? Cool. But yeah, so I really hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you next year with a new panel and new stories, and of course, you know, we're here if you have any questions, or the magazine is here as well. I'll send an email on Monday, and yeah, so maybe we'll be interviewing someone soon. Bye bye.